this from Peter King. We did Tyree Wilson. We did Bijan Robinson. Jalen Carter, are you ready?
I am ready.
Here's what he writes about Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter has 2 visits to top 10 teams left before Wednesday's deadline for players to make pre-draft visits with teams. I'll tell you the team that is most perfect for Carter in the NFL, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who would have to trade up from 17 to get him. More later, he says, an increasing number of people around the league think Jalen Carter has done enough in his visits to not sink like a stone on draft night. It's become more of a cliche how many team officials think the Seahawks will take Carter with the 5th overall pick. The best rumor of the week is the Steelers trading up from 17 to 9. If Carter is there could not be a more perfect coach for Carter than Mike Tomlin. Lots of teams look at the 5th slot, Seattle, with Mr. Positive Pete Carroll as coach, and automatically think it's a good shot. It may well be. Detroit at 6, Chicago and Philly at 9 and 10 also seem to be in play. Who takes the risk on Carter and who gambles on the potential reward is going to be one of the big stories of round 1. So what's intriguing about this is 2 things. The newsworthy items are, 1, that Jalen Carter's apparently having good visits with teams, which could solidify him in the top 10. And 2, if Pittsburgh's interested in moving up and Carter's on the board, is 16 too far to fall back without 16 or 17? Let me look where Pittsburgh is. Sorry.
16, I believe.
Is it too far to move back? I mean, you'd have to get a boatload of draft picks, but let's say the Lions would bite on an offer from Pittsburgh and then be picking 17 and 18. I mean, how much more draft capital would you want from Pittsburgh? Because Pittsburgh has, interestingly, the first pick of the 2nd round.
Mm-hmm.
So would you trade 6 for 17, 32, and a first rounder next year?
Yep.
Do you think that would get it done? Do you think Pittsburgh would do it?
Nope.
You don't?
I don't know if they would do that. That's because it's basically 3 first-round picks is what they're giving up to get 1 first-round pick.
Yep. That's a long way to fall from 6 to 17.
It is. But it's not falling into the 20s. It's falling to 6 to 17. I mean, I get it. It's 11 spots. I did the math. Thank you.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I had to double check it. I did the math, and it's 11 spots. I think it's a lot to expect a team to give up 3 first-round picks to get that, to move up the 11 spots.
Technically, it's not, but I hear you.
Well, but it's the 32nd pick, which is...
But it's the contract.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. You don't get the 5th-year option for pick 32, although I would lobby to get that 5th-year option. I would do it in a heartbeat if I were the Lions, if that came out to you. Because the pick you're getting at 17 and 18, you're going to get 2 guys you're really going to like. You've got the pick of 32. That's great. You got the pick of 55, 48, 55, 81, and then you get a first-round pick next year.
Mm-hmm.
How much of a jump is Pittsburgh going to take next year?
Well, let's do this then. Let's if you think that's too much of an ask, would you do it for 17, 32, and a 2nd rounder next year?
I'd have to think about it.
Yeah. Kang, what do you make of this?
I really like Jalen Carter. I'm probably going to take him at 6.
Okay. Would you move back with Pittsburgh?
I see Jalen Carter is personally off my board, and that's me not being in the meeting today, right? So not knowing whether he could change my mind or not. I'm just basing this off of what we all know publicly, which is, besides the legal stuff, is the showing up to his personal workout, 9 pounds overweight, not being able to finish it. That stuff concerns me a lot. So with that being said, if I'm not on board with Jalen Carter, I'm taking a deal to move out.
So would you do it for 17, 32, and a 2nd rounder next year?
That seems too low, though.
Well, 17, 32, and a first rounder next year.
Yes.
Okay, but is that too high?
Well, I don't care because I like that deal better.
But that's the caveat, though. The caveat is that they would have to feel like we don't really want Jalen Carter. We're not there because
but let me stop you, because Kang, I want you to be consistent. Last week you were a trade out of 6 at all costs.
I know.
So 17, 32, and a 2nd rounder. All costs means you accept a deal that's less than market value.
Listen, here's the thing. You're right. Maybe I got a little too ahead of myself there when I said at all costs, because I think you still have to you have to protect yourself and get still fair value. You've got to get market value. The 6th overall pick, and you check the math in this, Gator, is a top 10 pick. Okay? So to drop out of the top 10, you're still going to have to entice me with something. Top 10 picks are not easy to come by. Now, if someone moves up and it's for a quarterback, you got to rake them over the coals. If it's not for a quarterback, and maybe you don't know the answer to this when a team calls and says, hey, I want to move up, but they're obviously eyeing something in particular where they got to get up to in the top 10. Maybe at all costs was too strong of words I used last week, because I do want to move out of it, but I think you owe it to yourself not to rip yourself off as well.